Today we're going to talk about MLA style, or the Modern Language Association style. You will use this style in 8th grade, in high school, in college. And in college, depending on your major, you may also learn other styles. But for now, we are just going to use the MLA style. Basically, all that means is that we are going to use a standard formatting for when we type our essays or our documents, and that will use the standard formatting also with in-text citations and our works cited page. So today we're going to go through a little bit of what each of those things mean. So first of all, you might be asking, well, why do we have to do this? Well, there are a couple of reasons. First of all, someone might read what you wrote and be interested. So having the works cited page and information about your sources will allow your reader to look up further details about your research. Also, we want to make sure to give credit to the authors of our research so that we're not plagiarizing and claiming that work for our own. So the first step would be to include in-text citations within our paper to show where each piece of information came from. So MLA citations follow a specific style. Sometimes they're also known as parenthetical citations because they are in parentheses. Basically, right here is an example of when we're using something from a book, and then after, in parentheses, we have marks 43. This is the author's last name and the page number. So in parentheses, we have the author's last name and page number. And notice the period is at the very end after the parenthesis for that sentence. Now, also, there's another way to do it. Let's say you use the author's name in the sentence, and you say, according to Marx, Wilbur made in excess of $500,000. If the author's name is in your sentence and you're already stating where this came from, you can leave it at just the page. So in-text citations go within the body of your essay, and it's important to remember that each citation in your text must have a complete bibliographic entry in your works cited page. So if readers want to go to your original source, they can. If they just see Marks 43, they're not going to know what book that came from. Basically, you're going to give more detailed information at the end on a works cited page. So you might be asking, well, what is a works cited page? It is basically just a listing of all the sources you use to compose your writing with different specific pieces of information. It'll be the last page of your document. So how are you going to do this? If you're using a book, you're going to use the copyright page to find important information. Or if you're using a website, you'll look for the information usually at either the very top of the website or at the very bottom of the website. So we're going to start with a book. This is the standard format for the information that you need to look up whenever you're using a book. You'd start with the author's name, last name, comma, first name, period. So author's name. Next, you're going to put the title. So this is from the book The Giver by Lois Lowry. So we have The Giver. Notice it's in italics, or when you're handwriting, you can underline. It means the same thing. Notice there's a period after it. Then New York. That is the city where it was published. You are only going to include the state if the city is unfamiliar. Most everyone would know that New York City is in New York State. It is acceptable when in doubt just to put New York, comma, New York. But since the city is a pretty big familiar city, you do not have to put the state. Now, if we did a small town like Mattoon, Illinois, and we have a publishing company in Mattoon, Illinois, we would put Mattoon, comma, Illinois, or Charleston, comma, Illinois. There's another reason why you'd want Charleston, comma, Illinois. If the city has multiple, or if there's a city, Charleston, in multiple states, we would want to clarify Charleston, comma, Illinois. So this is the city. You only have to put the state if the city is unfamiliar or if there's more than one. Then we have a comma, and then we have Houghton Mifflin Company. That is the publishing company that made the book. And the last thing you have is a year here. This year, 1993, was the year the book was published, and that is the most recent date. Sometimes you'll have new editions of the book, so you put the most recent date for whatever this edition is. And notice I have the period at the end. All of the punctuation has to be exactly like this. So Lowry, comma, Lois, period, The Giver, period. And you have to have the punctuation exactly like this. We do not expect you to memorize it, but we expect you to be able to look at an example and follow that example. And in the future, you'll actually be able to use different websites that'll help you organize it. But for now, we want you to understand and know how to format this structure. So we're going to practice. We're going to look at the copyright page of the Hunger Games, and we would use the copyright page and the cover to figure out what we would put. So the first thing we need is the author's last name. Now you can find that on the copyright page or on the cover. It's written by Suzanne Collins, but we're going to put it just like the example and put the author's last name first. So we're going to put down at the bottom, Collins, comma, Suzanne, period. The next thing we need is the title. We can look right on the cover for that. So The Hunger Games. Notice I wrote it in italics. The next thing I need is where it was published. I need the city or possibly the city and the state if it's not familiar. So I would look for the publishing company and see if I can find an address. And if we look up here at the top, it's right up here. This is on 557 Broadway Street in New York, New York. So all I need is the city, since the state's familiar, New York. So I'm going to just put New York, comma. The next thing I need is the publishing company. I would look for the C with the circle around it. That's the copyright symbol. And usually nearby, you can find the specific publishing company, and it is published by Scholastic Incorporated. So I'm going to put it just like they have it here, Scholastic, and then Incorporated is abbreviated, and then I'll put my comma. And the last thing I need is the year when it was published. And again, look for the C with the circle around it, and you usually can find the year it was published right after that C with the circle around it. So I have 2008, period. Now you want to make sure your citation fits the example with all the commas and the periods. So I'm going to have you take a look at a different copyright citation and see which one fits the example exactly. Now we're going to move on to an example citation for a website. And it's pretty similar. There are a few things that are different from a book. We're going to start with the author again, just like we did before, last name, comma, first name. We're going to put the website title, whatever's at the top, website title in italics. This part's a little different. For the publisher, we are still putting the publisher, but basically that just means who created this, like what company created this website, what organization, what sponsor. That's also sometimes called the container, basically the bigger container for the smaller website page. But basically we're just looking at what company made this. Then the next thing is the date it was created or last updated if there's a more recent date. And you're going to notice the dates are kind of odd. Instead of, we usually would put April 20th, 2018, but here we put the numerical date first, 20 April 2018, comma. This is the website address that we'd copy from the website bar. And then this last thing is actually the date that we got on and looked at it, because sometimes websites are changed or updated. So we're going to put the date we were looking at it or the date we accessed it. Today is April 10th. So I'm going to put accessed 10 April 2021, period. You would put whatever current date it is right here for the date you got on the website and looked. So we're going to take a look at this website. Let's say I'm researching, I want to know about Martin Luther King III. So if I found this website and I want to use it in my research, I need to find that works cited information. Not all websites have an author. If it does, I need to find it. This one does. This is by Jennifer E. Jones. So I'm going to start with the last name and I'm going to put Jones, comma, Jennifer E. The next thing I need is the website title. So I want to look at the top and see, well, what is this website called? And it's usually also up here. But I need to type or copy and paste that whole title out in italics. Okay, so I put it and I put my period at the end. The next thing I need is the publishing company or the sponsor who made it or the container, basically the bigger organization that made this company. Sometimes that'll be at the top. Other times I might have to scroll all the way down to the very, very, very bottom of the website, and usually I can see the publishing company at the very bottom. This one does happen to be at the top. It's the King Center, so I'm putting that next. The next thing I need is the date the website was made or last updated. It's right here, July 26, 2011, but I'm going to put it in the exact same order as the sample. So I'm going to start with the 26 July 2011 and my comma. The next thing I need is this website address from up here, and I can literally copy and paste that. So I'm going to get that. And the last thing I need is the date I accessed it, which is today's date. So I'm going to put accessed and then today's date, which for me is 10 April 2021, period. And again, notice I'm putting my commas and my periods and everything exactly like the example. My dates are in the same order as the example too. So I'm going to have you look at a website and try to figure out which order is exactly like the sample with all the commas and periods and the order of the dates even the same. Okay, now, a couple other notes with websites. Websites don't all have authors. Sometimes they only list the publisher or the organization who created it. So if there is no author, just skip it. Okay, if there is no author, skip it and start with the next thing, which would be the title. Okay, the other thing is sometimes the website won't say an author and sometimes they won't say the date it was last updated. If you are still certain the source is credible and trustworthy, here's how you would cite it. Basically, you would skip the author, go straight to the title, put the publishing company, and then if there is no date, skip it and go to the next thing, which would be the website. And then the date accessed is the date you're looking at it, so today's date. So basically, if it's missing the author or the date last updated, just skip it and go to the next thing. Another valuable resource, which is actually where I got this, is the Purdue University Online Writing Lab, or OWL for short. And I showed you what to do for a book with one author or a website, but they actually have links that you can click on for if you're using other electronic sources, or maybe you're using a book with two authors, and you can figure out how to cite those for the various sources. They also have the format that this is going to look like at the end. On our last page of our document, we'd have works cited in the middle, and then they used a lot of sources. We'd put all of our sources then in alphabetical order based on the first word. So notice this one starts with a D, then E, then G. So whatever word's first, you would put these in alphabetical order, and notice these are all in that same format as the examples we looked at. So next, you are going to practice. You are going to type a citation for 3 different websites. And remember, you will usually find the information you need at the very top of the website or at the very bottom of the website. And you might have to scroll down really far, but oftentimes the publishing company and the date last updated is at the very, very bottom. So what you'll do is you will go to your assignment and you'll click on the website, and then you'll find all this information and put it down here in the same order with the same punctuation. And again, note, if there is no author or date last updated, skip it.